To an outsider, Azerbaijan puts on a glamorous and ostentatious face. But despite all the lavish attractions here, there is a dark side, a corrupt side, that keeps its citizens quietly oppressed and disenfranchised. This is a country that is petroleum-rich and petroleum-poor. Away from the opulence, the land is pockmarked by oil wells extracting wealth, which are surrounded by poverty and poor living conditions. Being a journalist here demands an extra amount of courage.
My name is Khadija Ismayilova, and I'm an investigative journalist. One faces corruption at every stage of their lives in Azerbaijan. It starts from the day you were born, and then at the very end, when you die, your relatives again have to pay bribe to get a piece of land where you will be buried. Corruption is not just a negative notion. Corruption is a crime that kills people directly and indirectly. There is no fair play system in this country. So what I do, I investigate hidden business interests of high-level politicians in my country.
Once part of the Soviet Union, Azerbaijan has had the largest decline in democratic governance of any part of Eurasia. The country's presidency has roots in the KGB and has become a dynasty. Since 1993, Heydar Aliyev and now his son Ilham Aliyev have remained in power.
It's like a kingdom. It's controlled by one family. They're controlling the biggest part of the economy in this country. They are controlling most of the opportunities in this country.
Khadija is one of Azerbaijan's most courageous journalists and continues to challenge the current system, despite the consequences.
I've spent a year and a half in prison, and even now I'm under surveillance and I'm being watched constantly.
Khadija's problems are far from unique. Over the years, large numbers of journalists and activists have been rounded up and jailed for their criticism of the Aliyev government.
Like Ilgar Mammadov, he is in prison now. These are my criminal cases. The first rule of investigative journalism is follow the money. And Aliyevs couldn't keep the money inside the country. They spend a lot of money outside the country. They buy mansions around the world. They buy businesses around the world. For example, President's daughter Leyla Aliyeva owns a lot of mansions in London. His son and daughters own property worth altogether $75 million in Dubai. Whatever business I've been investigating, the family members' names were popping out. I discovered documents in Panama State Registry showing that our President Ilham Aliyev's family members own companies in offshores, which they use to hide their business interests in Azerbaijan. One of the investigations was about 6 gold and copper mines. The president's daughter's company got the right to dig the gold out of those mines, including one particular in Chovdar. And according to the official estimates, the reserves were worth $2.5 billion. I actually didn't only discover that the president's daughters own the company, but I also discovered that President himself ordered the Minister of Natural Resources to sign a contract with daughter's company.
Eventually, as a result of her reports, the public was starting to discover the truth about their dubious first family. That put Khadija on the government radar.
A couple days after first story on Panama companies have been published, a video camera had been planted in my bedroom. They filmed me secretly in my bedroom with my boyfriend and then blackmailed me with that video. And when I didn't step back, they posted the videos online. And that was basically the worst thing they could do to anyone, any woman in this country.
This was followed by a barrage of threats, a smear campaign in state media, as well as various criminal charges. The government wanted her out of the picture. Convicted of trumped-up charges, she was sentenced to 7.5 years in prison. But this backfired. The government had no idea what they were in for.
I said, I want to be incarcerated. I like it there. And then my colleagues worldwide started a project which was called Khadija Project. Around 100 journalists joined the initiative and they started doing investigation on Aliyev's family. They continued the investigations that I've started. They conducted new investigations. They revealed new facts. And they announced that they are doing it for my freedom.
Soon after, some heavy hitters jumped on the campaign.
This is the observation paper done by my lawyers.
As her counsel, I've filed a case before the European Court of Human Rights that seeks to have the court recognize the violations that have occurred. She also benefited from support on a bipartisan basis from representatives from Congress and the Senate.
During the same period, the Obama administration had some serious discussions with President Aliyev.
First of all, I'd like to express my gratitude to President Obama.
And there was the irony that Mehraban, the First Lady of Azerbaijan, was a UNESCO ambassador, while at the same time keeping a journalist in prison who had been investigating her and her daughters.
They understood that they are losing much more by keeping me in prison.
Soon, Aliyev began pardoning dozens of political prisoners. And around the same time, Khadija was eventually released and acquitted of 3 of the 5 charges. Still, she is watched carefully and cannot leave her country. And others still languish in prison while the Aliyev's family corruption and lineage continues.
I don't know if ending corruption is possible, but I will continue doing my job, exposing corruption, till the end of my life. Or, in better case, till the end of the problem.